Hello, everybody. Welcome, Leafs Nation, to episode 3 of season 4 of TML Domain Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. Let's get into it. Let's get into all the different topics that are hot and heavy right now. The Leafs have officially started training camp. They did their media availabilities yesterday. And there's some interesting stuff that came out of the interviews. Um, I think if we start with Tree Living, he said some very complimentary things about William Nylander, which should go a long way with um, just the relationship that he has with William Nylander and keeping the lines of communication open, building that trust the same way he did with Austin Matthews. He said a lot of good things about William Nylander. He said there isn't anything that he can't do if he puts his mind to it. It's they're giving him, all the confidence and all the flowers before the season starts, as they're asking him to do something that he hasn't really done on a regular basis, which is play center. And this is very interesting to me. Because if you're trying to negotiate with a player, a guy that's coming off 30 plus goals and then 40 goals, point per game, it's you're negotiating with a guy that easily sees himself as minimum a $9 million player annually. And you see a guy like Sebastian Aho signs in the off season, and he gets the amount of money that he does. His cap hit is in the nines, and then everybody says, "Well, this is a Nylander comparable," but everybody on TV, it's what people are saying in the media is a little contradictory. Like, let's just say Overdrive, for example. So Sebastian Aho signs this contract, and the first thing Overdrive says is, this must be a comparable for William Nylander. They're similar type players, but then they put the asterisk on that saying Sebastian Aho is a center and William Nylander is a winger. And then yesterday, Brian Hayes of Overdrive says, what does it matter if William Nylander plays center? That doesn't change his value. His value has already been determined league wide. So that's a little weird to me. To say someone is a comparable, but Nylander should get less because he's not a center, and then all of a sudden they say, okay, well, go play center, and let me look up Sebastian Aho's numbers, because from what I remember, Sebastian Aho didn't really blow the doors off of anyone last year in terms of his stats. Yeah. So last year, Sebastian Aho scored 36 goals and 67 points. So if you say a 36 goal scorer, Aho has 280-point seasons and a bunch of 60-point seasons. So to say someone is a comparable, but not really, because one is a center and one's not. If William Nylander plays center and he scores 30 something goals like Aho did, and 67 points is very doable for Nylander, then why aren't they comparable then, right? It's very weird what people say in the media in Toronto. It's, oh well, they're always, there's a time where Matthews and Marner are these like crazy high value players and they should be making 13, 14 million dollars, and then they sign for less than they should. And then people say, well, it's not really signing for less. Yeah, it is. Matthews cap percentage has never been higher than McDavid's. So to say someone is making more just because of the 13 number, it's just it's the same percentage on a higher cap hit. That's all that is. If McDavid signs for the same cap hit on same cap percentage on this cap, he's easily a $14.5 million player. So just to say like someone's making more just because it's 13, but Austin Matthews' cap percentage didn't go up. He's still taking same piece of the pie that he did before. I don't necessarily consider that he's making more than McDavid, but yeah. So it's very interesting that the Leafs would try William Nylander at center, and really, it's not that he can't do it. Sure, he can play center. Um, the only thing is, who are his wingers, right? We've obviously seen a difference in Austin Matthews' stats when he plays with um, Marner and Bunting, or Nylander and Bunting, or Marner and Hyman, or Nylander and Hyman. Like, there's always a difference in stats. So wingers really do matter. And John Tavares playing with Marner and John Tavares playing with Nylander. I mean, there's a difference in stats there too. So to say this guy can play center or not is it's not so much whether he can do it, it's how is the Leafs lineup deep enough um, so that the Leafs can put Bertuzzi on the top line, Nyes on the second line, and Domi and Yarkrook on the third line, right? Is this team deep enough to produce three scoring lines? And that's what it all comes down to. I mean, if goal scoring production goes down, the Leafs are going to be forced to put Nylander back on the top two lines, and probably Camp or Domi or somebody will, or Camp will fill out the third line center, and maybe a guy like Lafferty who can play center can play fourth line center. Um, I don't know really much about Noah Gregor, who has played the last 4 seasons in San Jose. Can he play fourth line center? There's Pontus Holmberg. There's Dylan Gambrell. There's a lot of guys that can fill out the fourth line center if Camp was to move up and Nylander was put back into his wing position. You know, it's it's going to be definitely the first 20 games of the season are going to be very interesting to see how John Tavares plays at center, and is this whole Nylander playing center situation just a way of alleviating some tough minutes for John Tavares, who is not the fastest skater or the best skater, and does it make it easier for him to play against other teams' top lines if he's not the center, but you do need speed on the wings. So it's definitely going to be interesting. The first 20 games are really going to make and break this situation. If this lineup is not deep enough and they can't produce enough offense and they get off to a rough start, I don't know how long they stick with this. But it's definitely interesting because if it works out and Nylander can't play center and he's producing to the level of Sebastian Aho of 36 goals and 67 points, then really the Leafs are conceding their negotiating spot, right? Like the only thing they have is they have there's a bunch of guys in the NHL that are signing for $8 and $9 million. Most of them are wingers, not a lot of them are centers, and then centers are getting high nines. So the only thing they can say to Nylander is based on production of other wingers and your production, we think you're 9.25 or whatever it is. I think either way, Nylander's going to sign. long term 8 years with a cap hit starting with 9. Now, whether it's 9.75 or 9.25 or 9.15, I really don't see the point in haggling over 400,000 or 500,000. Like it's um it's really irrelevant. So yeah, the Leafs put out their training camp squads, and really they have three different squads. The first two squads are the main squads that are going to be playing the games and practicing as an NHL unit. The third squad is really for development. They put a lot of players in there that are going to be working with the Leafs player development staff. They're going to be working on their skating, whether it's goaltenders working on their goaltending, whether it's skaters working on defense, skating, all the different aspects of the game. If there are injuries, there could be guys that come out of that development squad, the third squad, and play some preseason games, but we'll see how that goes. I think there's already I think there's already a couple of minor injuries that are happening with the Leafs group, but nothing to the major guys. So the Leafs started skating this morning, Thursday morning, and based on how the camp groups look, um, what we can see right off the bat is Bertuzzi is skating with Matthews and Marner. Knives is skating with Tavares and Lafferty, which is a very interesting second line. Young, Crook, Nylander, and Domi are skating together, and that appears to be the third line that they will be testing out in preseason. So that looks like you know they're showing their hand a little bit in terms of what they think they're going to be doing. I got my dogs snorting all over the place. This dog, eh? Listen, if you don't like snorting and you don't like loud snoring, don't get a French bulldog. All I just think there's a pig walking around my house. So yeah, so based on the camp groups, Riley is playing with Brody, McCabe is playing with Klingberg, Giordano is playing with Lilligren, and Simon Benoit is skating with Connor Timmins, which look like they might be the odd man out of the top six on defense. So the fourth line is Noah Gregor, which I mentioned. He's been with San Jose the last 4 years. He's a pretty fast guy, tenacious, bumps people on the boards. Um, he brings something that Camp doesn't on the fourth line. So Noah Gregor, Camp, and Reeves have been skating together as the fourth line. And Camp is not really all that physical. So Noah Gregor and Reeves will be providing the physicality on that line. And Camp is your typical shutdown play defense center. So I don't know. You guys tell me what you think of this third line of Young, Crook, Nylander, and Domi. It's there's definitely speed there. Young Crook is a good skater. Domi is a pretty fast skater. Nylander is obviously the best skater of the three, and Yarncrook has shown the ability to score goals with his shot when he's been given the puck in the right spots. So, Nylander is a very gifted playmaker, and so is Domi. So I can see, Domi racking up the assists on that line if the chemistry works out. And, the chemistry that Tavares and Nyes showed in the playoffs was very good. And Lafferty doesn't have to do much on that line. He has to dog the puck, he has to forecheck, he's got to create some turnovers with his speed. And then you have Nyes and Tavares who are cycling type players. They're not really. It's a good combination because they're not score off the rush type of players. Tavares, whenever he's been put with Nylander and Marner, it hasn't always gone great just because can Tavares really keep up with those wingers when they hit top speed and they're looking to make plays and score off the rush? So, um, Nyes and Tavares and Lafferty seem like the type of line that can produce offensive zone time, produce puck possession, hold the puck for a while, rag it around, cycle the puck behind the net, and get some greasy goals. Um, Domi Nylander and Yarncrux, they in general they're puck possession guys. Nylander, we've seen it time and time again. When he holds onto the puck, it puts it on his backhand and puts his shoulder down and starts skating around the zone in circles and circles, just to create, open up all these different seams, and then he rifles the puck, cross crease or something like that to a Matthews or somebody else. He's they're high. These guys are also puck possession players, but not the same type as Nyes and Tavares. Nyes and Tavares seem like the kind of guys that go behind the net and cycle and tire you out. Where Yarncrux, Nylander, and Domi seem like the type of guys where when they have the puck, they will skate around the zone, not so much behind the net, but they produce puck possession in a different way and they create their offense different way. It's not so much getting the puck, cycling it, and getting it in front of the net. It's more, skate around the zone, create some seams, um, make some good passes, and rifle the puck in the net. So, yeah, the second and third line is definitely going to be interesting to see how they perform in preseason. I originally would have thought, when it comes to defense, because Giordano looked very slow last year and he wasn't as efficient as he could be. I mean, he's getting up in age. He's not very fast. We saw how slow he was in the playoffs. But he's a shot blocker. He's a penalty killer. So he does have some upside. But looking at Riley, Brody, and McCabe are three left-handed defensemen, and Klingberg, Liljegren, and Timmins are three right-handed defensemen. It would have seemed to me that Giordano would be the odd man out. But based on the early pairings in camp, Giordano playing with Liljegren might just be, Liljegren might benefit from playing with a veteran a little bit more. Me personally, I would have put Riley and Liljegren together, and I would have put Brody with Klingberg. Klingberg, with his defensive struggles the last couple of seasons, he would benefit from playing with a very steady player like TJ Brody, who doesn't make a lot of mistakes, doesn't fly up into the rush a lot. He stays back more. And then McCabe could have played with Timmins. And I think that I think McCabe and Timmins would be a decent combination, only because McCabe is not the best at moving the puck, but Timmins, for the small sample size that we got to see him for this small amount of minutes that he's played, he's shown the ability to move the puck very quickly and make great plays. So that's a huge benefit for a guy like McCabe, who likes to step up and hit people. So yeah, Samsonov and Wall and net, obviously. So that seems like to be, if everything stays the same, opening night roster looks like Bertuzzi, Matthews, Marner, Nice, Tavares, Lafferty, Yarncrux, Nylander, Domi, Noah Gregor, Camp, Reeves on the fourth line, and your defense pairings is Riley Brody, McCabe Klingberg, Giordano Lilligren, and Annette Samsonov. Now, Martin Jones is not just going to concede the spot. I think if the Leafs have a chance to hold on to him and not put him on waivers, I think they're going to try to work something out there just because I think they can't send Wool down. Wool will need waivers and he will get claimed. So it looks like Martin Jones is the odd man out right now, but I could see him on this team putting up decent numbers as a backup and looking good in preseason. But we'll see how that goes. Um, there. So yesterday we got some pretty decent content coming out of Leafs camp. It was Tavares' birthday, so during the media availabilities, they gave him cake. They sang him happy birthday. You got to see a lot of the new guys interacting with the players that have been here a while. So like, there was a picture of Bertuzzi and Nylander laughing it up, which is great. You love to see the new guys, gelling in, meshing with everybody. And Reeves seems to be very popular. Matthews is very excited about Nyes. They've been skating with each other in the off season, obviously in Arizona. And Matthews has a lot of good things to say about Nyes in that he's physically mature. He looks like, physically he can handle an 82 game season, but obviously, for a rookie who's never really done it before, gone through the grind of an 82 game season, playing on the road with the travel, how to take care of your body. All these things are things you have to learn, and it's a different development curve for everybody. So, uh, Matthews said some pretty good things about Nyes, which makes you very optimistic. Um, I personally, him and Tavares, Nyes and Tavares seem like the same type of player. Strong on the boards, hold on to the puck, cycle. But it just seems like there's a chemistry there between Nyes and Matthews because they're both from Arizona, because they hang out a lot, because they skate together. It seems like there's this natural chemistry there. And I think at some point or another, the Leafs might have to put him on the top line with Matthews for an extended period of time just to see what that chemistry turns into. Because, we've seen the Leafs try a certain type of player on the wing with Matthews and Martin, right? Whether it's Hyman, Bunting, they're Nick Ritchie. They're always looking to put a certain type of player there, and I think they finally have actually found that player. They drafted that player in Nice. He's big, he skates well, he's got hands, he's very deceptive he doesn't have like the greatest hands, but he's deceptive in that when he's in tight and he's battling for a puck, he'll make these very nifty moves, and he'll get himself out of trouble or he'll create some space for himself to make a play or score a goal. So it just seems like Nyes is that guy on the top line. Like they've been looking for this big body, very smart with the puck, can hold on to it. I think they've actually found that guy. So it's very interesting to see if Nyes ever gets an opportunity. I know with Bertuzzi, he's also very hard on the puck and he will get it back in a lot of different ways. And he's also very deceptive with his moves. I've watching Bertuzzi play for a long time. I've seen him pull some moves, uh, between his skates, inside, outside on defensemen. He's deceptive too. His hockey IQ is relatively high, so he's like a knife, but I think Bertuzzi will be pretty good on that top line, but there's just that chemistry, right? There's that chemistry between Matthews and Nyes that I think is undeniable. I think eventually they're going to end up playing with each other, and he could be the left winger that they've been searching for. The fact that they're putting Nylander at center and removing a 40 goal winger from the top six shows you how much they believe in Matthew Nyes. That they're saying, okay, Nylander can come out of the top six. We're taking him off the wing in the top six, and we're going to inject Nyes. And if he could score 20 to 30 goals, it, he can legitimately, like, considering the talent that he's playing with and the amount of offense that he's produced, it's very possible that he puts up, 40, 50, 60 points and is in the Calder race. And that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, so the Leafs are skating today. Um, their first preseason game is Sunday. Today is Thursday. So very excited about that. Stay tuned. I'm going to be posting a video from the new man cave for the first preseason game. I don't know if you guys know. Uh, I finished my basement. Very huge, lovely Maple Leaf style man cave. Um, I don't have enough. I don't have a lot of merch down there. Like I think it's Curtis from Alberta or something like that. But it's still like a museum down there. So big projection screen. Um, look at this guy, Charlie. Sip of us. Okay. Yeah. So apparently, I'm gonna have to cut this episode of the TML Domain podcast a little bit short. Um, but yeah, you guys, let me know what you think the lines should be. Should Nyes be on the top line? Should Bertuzzi be on the top line? Should Bertuzzi and Domi be a pair of wingers that play with Nylander? I think so. I think Bertuzzi and Domi can create some real havoc in the offensive zone. They dog the puck, they create turnovers, they have a lot of speed, and they're pretty chippy. Leafs don't really have any chippy wingers that'll go in there and really fight for it and hack and whack and cross check and do all these things that Bertuzzi and Domi do. So it could be very possible that both those guys end up with Nylander, both those guys end up with Tavares, depending on what the success is on the top line, third line, how the Nylander experiment goes at center. It's all very fluid right now, but it's interesting nonetheless. So next episode, we're actually going to be talking about some games the Leafs will have played a couple. I have tickets to go down and see the Leafs. So this Sunday I'm going to be watching on TV. I have tickets to Leafs versus Montreal and on October 2nd, and I have tickets to October 5th as well, which I think is the last home preseason game. So I will be um, reporting based on what I see and how the games flow, and because it's sometimes it's a little bit different than watching it on TV than watching it in person. So thank you for tuning in. Hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate you guys a lot. We're up to almost 1,000 people on Facebook, and we've passed 500 people on Twitter. And on the website, we have around 200,000 subscribers. So I appreciate everybody for their time, reading the articles, checking out the content. And as always, go Leafs go. We'll see you guys next week.